Sting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
The Star Spangled Banner is my third favorite anthem in the world, period. Every other anthem in the world is about, we love our country, God bless our country. The US anthem is like, nah, F around and find out. So I attended my first political event in the US, and I'll tell you all about it. Before I do, my name is Nenebi Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer who lives in the US. On this channel, I talk about geopolitics from the perspective of an African. But today is going to be something different. I'm just going to tell you about a political event I attended on the UNT campus, right? So I'm a student at the University of North Texas, and earlier, it's around 2 a.m. when I'm recording this. So last night, around maybe 5 p.m., I was talking to a friend, and she asked me to, we go hear Ken Paxton speak. Ken Paxton is the Attorney General of Texas State, right, where I live. And sure, I attended for reasons that have nothing to do with politics, but I'll explain later. Or I might not. I went to the event. I stood in line from maybe 6:15-ish, and the event started around 7 p.m. And I'll tell you what happened at the event. So before I do that, let me give some context. Turning Point USA is the organizer of this event I attended. Turning Point USA is a conservative organization that was founded by Charlie Kirk. If you don't know Charlie Kirk, he is this political organizer who was fatally shot in September 10th, 2025. And a day after Charlie Kirk passed away, an event happened on the University of North Texas campus that made national news. So what happened was, in a class, I believe it's a psychology class, this girl, Mary Catherine, said she witnessed some of her classmates cheering at the passing of Charlie Kirk, and she confronted them, and her professor asked her to take it outside. And that made news, and we'll get into all of that at some point. So that is the context of this event. This is Turning Point USA's first event since that incident on the UNT campus. And because of this, there was expected to be a lot of drama unfolding at this event. But that's not why I attended. I attended because I wanted to hear what Ken Paxton has to say about anything. Anyway, so when the event started with the Star Spangled Banner, which is the US national anthem, and sidebar, the Star Spangled Banner is my third favorite anthem in the world, period. My favorite anthem is the St. Peter's School anthem. I attended a senior high school in Ghana called St. Peter's. We have the best anthem ever written. Youth of St. Peter's, our standard is raised, dignitati hominum, for the dignity of humanity. That is our motto, and that's what I live by, right? And so that anthem is very, very important to who I am as a human being. My second favorite anthem is the Ghana national anthem. That is my spirit. The third thing is the US national anthem. I like it because it's different from every other anthem in the world, right? Every other anthem in the world is about, we love our country, God bless our country. The US anthem is like, nah, F around and find out. And the part of this anthem that said the flag still stands, that part of the writing is really, really emotive. It gets me every time. Anyway, and so they started with the anthem. And I believe the first speaker is this woman called Sara Gonzalez. She's a podcaster from how she was introduced. I Googled her. She has a podcast called Sara Gonzalez Unfiltered. She was also my least favorite speaker on the night. And so when you watch the media in the US, doesn't matter whether you're watching Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN, and sidebar, I am a proud both sider. And so all the political media in the US is very, very divisive. The rhetoric is very highly geared towards making you hate the person who is not in the same political party as you, right? It feels like the political parties in the US are gangs that if you're affiliated to the gang, you are not allowed to have friends or relationship with people outside of your gang. Sara Gonzales used the words, how can we share countries with these people? And so she is my stereotypical American political commentator. And so her speech did nothing for me. There was a part of her speech I thought was intelligent where she said something about the red and green alliance. Red meant communism and then green means Islam. And she said the election of Mamdani is the red and green alliance. Obviously, she's wrong because Mamdani is one person. New York City is not going to become a communist city tomorrow morning or an Islamic city tomorrow morning just because they elected somebody who is a democratic socialist and a Muslim. That is not how cities work. He doesn't have that power to change the entire culture and makeup of New York City, right? So even though she was just fear mongering and being hyperbolic, the way she went about it, that particular phrasing was interesting to me. I give credit where credit is due. And so she was my least favorite speaker on the night. I didn't care for it. I generally don't care too much. I've never watched. I watched Tucker Carlson once, his interview with Kanye West. I'm a huge Kanye West fan. And I generally will watch political commentators who are making intellectual defense of their side. From time to time, I'll watch Ted Cruz podcast whenever he's talking about the law because Ted Cruz is a very intelligent person when it comes to the law. I listen to a lot of like political commentators whose conversation focus on offering intellectual explanation of their belief. That is not what I felt like Sara Gonzales was doing. She was just emoting, and I don't care for it. So she was my least favorite speaker on the night. The speaker after her was Mary Catherine Hallmark. Mary Catherine Hallmark is the student I said witnessed people in her class jubilating at the passing of Charlie Kirk. And I do believe her story, even though it didn't happen in my class. In my class, when we talked about Charlie Kirk, it was a bit more respectful exchange of ideas. I don't think anybody said anything negative about, or anybody said anything that was remotely close to a celebration in my class. But I believe that it is possible that it happened because even in the news, there were people who were cheering for his passing. And so, yeah, she came and shared her story, the same story she became known nationally for. She talked about how it changed her life. She had to go to class with a police escort because her family feared for her safety and all that, right? And apparently she became a celebrity on campus because of that. I went on her TikTok views before that incident low. After that incident, her views shot up. And I was actually gladdened when I looked at the comment on the TikTok and people would say something like, I am a Democrat, but I'm sorry this happened to you. I like that type of bipartisan show of love and support when people go through traumatic stuff. Because if you look at her TikTok, she didn't even talk politics on TikTok until that incident. Her TikTok was mostly about music and food and stuff like that. I went down the rabbit hole. And I'm about to tell you something. That is not why I went down the rabbit hole on her TikTok. So after she gave her speech, she went backstage when Ken Paxton was talking. And so she was watching Ken Paxton from the backstage, and I was watching Ken Paxton, and I tend to look at where she was watching from, and we locked eyes for like 5 seconds. and she smiled at me, and I smiled back. She had a beautiful smile. Anyway, but that's not why I went down the rabbit hole on her TikTok. I just wanted to see what's up with her political views. So she was one of my favorite speakers on the night because she spoke like a human. I felt like Sara Gonzalez spoke like a podcast talking head. She spoke like a human, and of course, she's a college student, and so she's not thinking or trying to be what Sara Gonzalez is. So I commend her for staying true to herself, sharing her story, her outfit. I think she was wearing black and white. Beautiful outfit, beautiful girl. It sounds like I'm glazing. Let's move on. Ken Paxton was the main male on the night, and I don't want to use underwhelmed. It was different, and I'll explain why. When the incident that happened on the UNT campus happened, Ken Paxton wrote some letters that made the news, and I felt like the letters she wrote to the UNT were fiery. At some point, I believe he called for the students who were jubilating the passing of Charlie Kirk to be expelled and started investigation into UNT and everything, right? His speech was different from the way the media portrayed his letter. I read the letter, the way the letter sounded. His speech was more measured and more moderate. He spoke about free speech. The reason I'm saying, even at some point, he said that people who say foul things or threaten other people, it may be free speech, but it's wrong. So basically, he didn't disregard free speech. He even used the story of is it Joseph in the Bible to speak about forgiving your enemies and everything. And that was different from what I have come to accept of him. I don't know anything about Ken Paxton outside of the media report. I listened to this podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. Probably the podcast I listen to the most is called Advisory Opinion. It's a conservative legal podcast. And when Biden was president, Ken Paxton sued Biden 106 times. So he was on that podcast a lot. His impeachment was on that podcast also. And so I know him in relation to the law and law-related issues. And anything I know about him in relation to the law was different from who he was in the speech. His speech was more moderate than his, media appearances have been. Not that I've ever watched any media interview he's ever done anyway. So that was different from what I expected. But it was a good speech. You could tell that he's a seasoned politician. He knows how to communicate with his audience. And so I believe that there were people in the audience who came to protest him. He didn't give them any opportunity to do that. There was one time where he said he never got in trouble before running for political office, and somebody yelled, "That's a lie," and he didn't pay the person no mind. He just went on, right? And so because he didn't give any energy to the hecklers, he was able to deliver his speech without having any heckles. And I feel like that was a masterful display by him. Sara Gonzalez engaged with the audience in a different way. So, in all, Ken Paxton did his job, delivered a good speech. There are some things that I learned as a communicator, I learned from his speech that I would add to my arsenal of communication. And so, if I'm rating speeches, I'll give Mary Catherine's speech 4.5 over 5. 4.5 over 5. The 0.5 I'm taking away is just because I feel like taking something away. And Ken Paxton's speech will be 4 over 5. That was a good one. Sara Gonzalez, maybe 2 over 5. And the president of Turning Point USA, the UNT chapter, also gave a speech, a typical political speech, okay speech. I think he received a heckle that somebody commented about his weight. I did not like that. I don't like when people are engaging in politics and don't stick to the issues. Engaging in personalities is not the best way to have political debates. I didn't like when the person commented on him personally. If you have disagreements with him, comment on the thing you are disagreeing with. Don't disagree with, don't attack people. Anyway, that was basically what happened. The advisor of Turning Point UNT chapter opened the event and closed the event. That was about it. Nothing crazy happened. The drama I thought was going to happen did not happen. It was a good event, all in all. And I will probably attend a Democrats, if young Democrats on this campus have an event, I probably will attend it too. I found it interesting. I like politics. As you can tell, if you've never been on my channel and you like how I talk, subscribe to my channel. But I like politics. I like engaging with politics. The only difference between me and other people is I do not have a political home. And I'm not American, so I don't vote in the US. So that doesn't matter. But I do not have a political home because there is no political party that aligns with me, even 50%. And so the closest thing to a political home for me would be libertarian. Rand Paul is the closest thing to what I believe politically, even though I would disagree with Rand Paul when it comes to social welfare issues for reasons that have nothing to do with, politics. But in future, if I feel like it, I'll get into it. But yeah, Rand Paul will be the closest thing to a political home for me, right? Even though I do not. My friends, I tell my friends I'm a libertarian, which they've interpreted to mean I'm a conservative. And so my friends call me the most progressive conservative ever. So yeah. So yeah. That's a political identity. I'm the most progressive conservative ever. Anyway, thank you for watching. I just wanted to share my thoughts. I was having a hard time sleeping, and I said, you know what? Let me just share my experience attending my first ever political event in the US. In future, if I ever attend a Democrat event, I'll share my experience on that too. I probably would like to attend more political events. I've never attended a protest in my life. Can you imagine? Even when I lived in Ghana, I never attended a protest. So maybe one day I'll attend a protest. It doesn't matter who is doing the protest. I'll just attend a protest to see what the atmosphere is like in person. Thank you for watching.